Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. My name is Jemma, and this is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. Joining me this week, I would like to welcome back my good friend Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Good to be back. Sorry I missed last week.
Yeah, we missed you, but I hope you had fun, whatever you were doing last week.
I was marching my oldest son across the football field on senior night before the game when they were acknowledging
Oh, that's
graduating
awesome.
seniors.
That's very
Eh,
cool.
eh,
It sounds cool to an Aussie, so
yeah.
we don't have that here. So.
It would have been better if the football game wasn't a blowout, but we won at least. So, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's something.
yeah.
Consolation. Yeah, well, this week we have a very big game to talk about, which is Super Mario Brothers Wonder, of course, which has just come out. We've both had some time with it, so we're going to be talking about that, as well as some other games we're playing. And, of course, in the lead up to Halloween, we're dealing with one horror title a week, so Kirk's got a special one for us this week to talk about as well. But let's begin with Mario Wonder. So I'm glad you got to play it as well, Kirk, because I was worried you wouldn't get a chance to. But I was like, I got it straight away. I was very excited. Obviously, I've talked about this every week. I'm very, very big Mario fan. Very much looking forward to this game. How far along are we so far?
Let's see. I started it. I played through just a couple of the levels myself, just to get a feel for it, and then decided, well, the big Mario platformer in my house is actually my wife.
Oh, okay,
Um,
cool.
and I think I may have mentioned this before, but back on the NES days when she had that, she had gotten so good at Mario that she would play it upside down to make
Oh,
it
wow.
challenging. She would sit on the couch with her head hanging over the edge of the couch and be seeing the TV upside down. And she and her friend would play it that way. I don't know how far they got in it, but that's how hardcore she was when she was telling me about her video gaming past.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
cool. That is pretty hardcore. I've not
it
tried that with
is.
Mario. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, you got it on the Switch Online, right? So, yep,
Yep.
access it, play it, but she wasn't playing it upside down on Wonder. We were
Yeah.
both totally upright and playing the game, and we did it together, and we got through. Well, I don't know how the levels are split up. We two or
It's
three
not.
levels, and then some bonus stages, some
Yeah.
races, kind of thing.
Yes, because it's a little. I mean, it's a different style, I suppose. To and Mario, I guess the platforming games have kind of been leaning this way a little bit over the years in terms of even the last one, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. They weren't called World 1-1, World 1-2. They were named, you know, after the environment they were in, right? And this is the same way. It does say World 2 when you get to Fluff. Oh gosh, I'm terrible with names. Fluff Peaks or whatever it's called, which is where we're up to. But it's not 100% clear because you start off in, that pipe kind of land, and then you kind of make your way to a watery land, but I'm not sure if that's a world or if it's part of the central area. Petal Isles, I think it is. And then you get to Fluff Peaks or something, which is up in the clouds and the mountains. And um, it's not so linear, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. It's very, you can walk around, you can go to any level you like that's available to you. And so I've played like you. I did some single player time, and then I've also got my two kids, of course, to play with as well. So we've done a bit of multiplayer and had a lot of fun with that. I think I've mentioned before how excited my kids are that there are two Toads available, because they used to have to fight over who was Toad in the previous game because there was only one. So they can now both be Toad, which is awesome.
Did they fight over which color?
There was a little disagreement at the start because, one of them, they both want the blue one, but
Okay.
Hayden was fine with the yellow in the end. So, yeah, there was a little bit of that. And I think I've said this before as well. Why don't they just let you choose a color? Just say anyone can be a Toad. Just choose a color, but that's okay. We'll get there. We've got 12 characters to choose from, so you can't complain about that, really. So,
Although my wife did complain about the first character she picked.
who did she pick?
She went
Yoshi.
with Yoshi, yes.
Yeah.
And the first time I turned into an elephant because I was Luigi,
Yeah.
she realized she couldn't, and she was furious.
Yeah.
And said, "I am not going to play another level of this game if I cannot become an elephant." So you are allowed to switch, though, even on your own thing. You can pop in and switch at any time. And I didn't realize the Yoshis were invincible. They can't be
Mhm.
damaged.
Mhm. Yep, that is true. They are invincible. Yeah, essentially, that is a bit of a disappointment because because Yoshi is invincible, like you said, and Yoshi's cool because I think a lot of people love Yoshi, and being Yoshi is fun in that you get to flutter jump and people can ride on Yoshi. If you're Luigi, for example, you could ride on Yoshi, which is kind of cool. But who doesn't want to be the elephant and who doesn't want to, be the drill hat and the bubble person? Like the powers is that's the fun part. I always wondered, like Nabbit in the previous game, and he's back in this one. He's also invincible. He, it's great having that invincible option, but it's I don't know, it just doesn't seem as fun to me to not be the elephant or the, the other power-ups. Even the fire flower, like there's nothing quite as fun as shooting fireballs at Goombas. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think
it's interesting.
if we did the family, see, because Max is younger than all of us, he's not as good at the games yet. Doesn't have as
Mhm.
much time with them, so maybe. Although I'm sure, again, he would want to become the elephant and anything else, but it would be
Mhm.
better for him to be Yoshi, because he'd be able
Mm,
to just
mhm.
kind of push along as is and not worry about dying, not worry about
Yeah.
losing anything along the way. And we could count on him at times because there are times when having Yoshi's abilities are great. So uh,
Mhm,
we'll
mhm.
see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it is good to have that option for people who are younger or just not as, maybe less it's less stressful, I suppose. It's it's an easier experience. But having said that, I mean, so far, and I'm only up to World 2, it's not a hard game so far. So I'm hoping that picks up a little bit the challenge side of things because I do love the challenging side of the Mario platformers. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's in store in the future because so far it's I mean, it's very wonderful. Like the word wonder is apt for this game. When you get this wonder seed, sorry, the wonder flower that turns everything upside down and chaotic. I don't know what your experience is like. You can tell me as well, but it is a nice surprise each time. You're like, oh, there's the wonder flower. What's going to happen, right? And it's different in every level. And you might not be up to this one yet, but there's one in the watery section where the water and the air switch, they reverse. So whereas you were previously swimming in the water and the air is above you, like normal, it switches. So the water is up in the sky and the air is down below. And so you have to run. It's a little. It's interesting and kind of jarring in a fun way. But you're running where the water was previously, and then you jump into the sky. You have to swim. So, yeah, stuff like that. It's just like, oh wow, that's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, we had a couple moments where, and I'm sure, like I said, I don't have as much experience with these type of Mario games as some people, and they probably are
Mm.
surprises hidden in all of them. But there was one point where I was on a tree and I did a ground pound on the tree, and the tree lifted me up, Jack and the Beanstalk style, up clear up into the sky. The screen went black for a minute, and then it came up, and I'm in a completely different world. And there was like a little quick challenge you had to do that I ended
Mm.
up blowing. So I
Yeah.
had to hear about that from my wife a little bit, but there are tons of little things like that, where you just did not expect to happen. What happens, and if they can keep that up through the whole game, then I think that's fantastic because she and I were both laughing out loud at points at the absurdity of some of the things that were happening,
Yeah.
or how
Yes.
quick. Like maybe the first time, what were those? It's in the first world where one of the challenges maybe were those big like bubble guys, the hippos.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
you're taking on the hippos and you can like hit them and they roll around and hit things. But there was a moment where suddenly just a ton of them swooped in on us at once
Mm.
and we were
Mhm.
bouncing around. It was when you had to get one of the blue flowers.
Yes.
At the end of it, there's a huge hippo with a blue flower on top of it, and you're just bouncing back and forth, and you can't die. So it's like you're a pinball, just
Yeah.
bouncing between the bumpers. And it was fantastic and fun, and we were just having a great time with that, and finally got it, and had a blast with that part.
Yeah, yeah, it is a blast. It's so fun, and, like, that's why I think the term wonder, it just suits it so well, and I was reading online that, they've let the developers really use their imagination with this one. I think they said something like, "Don't worry about the time constraints of getting this game out, just worry about getting it right and making it as different as possible," which is really cool. Um, that's a good way to make a game, and I suppose Nintendo maybe can afford to do that with a Mario franchise, especially since it's been, I think is it 10 years since Mario U Deluxe first sorry, not U Deluxe, the Wii U version first came out. I
Hmm.
think it was 2013. So if you've got 10 years between games and you can afford to wait another year or whatever. I mean, they do the same thing with Zelda, don't they? They sort of, oh, even sometimes they apologize in Nintendo Direct saying, we need a little bit more time with this. And, the fans are like, oh, that's okay because we know it'll be good. So, the funny thing is that this was only announced pretty recently. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it was a surprise only a few months ago. And then it's like, okay, coming in October, it's the new Mario game. And everyone's like, wow, okay. So I don't know why they were keeping that so close to their chest. Maybe because it is so different and they were worried about a backlash or something. Or maybe they just thought, a short marketing phase is better for sales. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny to me how some games they will announce 2, 3, or in the case of Metroid 4, what like 8 years before the game comes out.
Yes.
And others they say, "Hey, look at this game, and you're going to have it in 3 months." Like, where'd
Mhm.
that come from? So yeah, it seems kind of random the way they do that. That would be
Yeah.
the good thesis for some college
Yeah.
student out there is trying to put
It
together
would
the
be.
puzzle of how Nintendo makes that decision.
If anyone has insight into that, please let us know. But I don't know whether it's because Metroid is people are clamoring for something like that, and so they have to maybe they feel like they have to say, "We're on this. We are doing something. It's just taking a long time." But
Yeah.
maybe Mario, I don't know, maybe I mean, I've been wanting a new Mario, 2D Mario for a long time, I'm not shy about saying that. I love the Mario series and I've wanted one for yeah, since the last one. So, but I'm not gonna complain, I'm just gonna wait patiently, I suppose, until it comes out. Yeah, and I mean, I wanted to say, you know, I suppose with this game coming out, there's been a lot of I've seen a lot of positivity online. I'm not sure if you've also noticed that. It
Yes.
seems like it's yeah, so it seems
Yeah,
like
the
it's being
initial
recruited.
reviews were a lot of people gave it perfects, 5 out of 5, 10 out of
Mm.
10, whatever the score was. It was up there, at least 9 out of 10. Sure.
Yes, which is really good, so that's great. Um, and then, you sort of see some people saying, they're going back to the older ones or the new the older ones that are called new, but the new Super Mario Brothers series and saying how it was stale and it needed fresh change, and I do just wanna defend that series a little bit because I did like it, and I'm not I'm certainly open to change, and I love Mario Wonder, but I really enjoyed the new series for what it was, and I don't think it was bad in any sense. So just wanted to put that out there. That's my opinion.
Well, I
But
bet if the way Nintendo does things, like they'll have a 2D and then they'll have new and then they'll have like the Super
yeah.
Mario Galaxy, and you think it's evolving and evolving, but then it flips back. Like suddenly 10
Mhm.
years later, we've got, oh, here's a continuation of the way we did this game. And now
Yeah.
you've got 3 or 4 different types of Marios all kind of pushing forward along their own path. So
Mm.
who knows which ones are going to disappear and which ones are eventually, may take a while, but which ones
Yeah.
get a follow up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm very excited to keep pushing through with Mario Wonder. I think it's from what I've seen online, it's around 10 to 20 hours worth of for the main game. And I did want to say I've also tried the online component. Have you given this a go at all?
Not yet. We saw the little satellite icon that explained what it
Mm.
was and read the whole thing, but not ready to go online yet.
Mhm. So, I mean, one thing I noticed is the user interface is very good in terms of Mario Wonder itself. You can pause, like you said, you can add players. You can change characters anytime. I think I couldn't drop a player midway through a level, but I could certainly add a player midway through a level, which I thought was really neat. You don't have to wait for the level to finish. You can just pause it, add a new player. You can change characters. It's all really, really easy and user friendly. And same with the online. You just hit that little satellite icon, like you said, and suddenly you're online. And then it's really cool because we saw this in the trailer where people are like ghost versions of Peach or Mario, whomever, and they're running around doing the level kind of with you, but in their own way. So they might go up ahead or they might fall behind or whatever. You don't necessarily interact with them, but you can see them. It does kind of feel nice. It feels like a little community of people playing this game at the same time. You're like, oh, there's other people playing this level, and you can leave these standees behind to help people. So if you die, you sort
Mhm.
of come back and you earn these little points. I don't know what they do yet, but you get hearts for helping people. And I think even, I don't know, actually, I got 50 points for doing something. I don't even know what I did. Was it just because I finished a level? I'm not even sure, but I've left a couple of standees around. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, you can collect a bunch of different sandies. So that's another thing. There's heaps of collectibles in this game.
Yeah.
You would have
Yeah,
seen
we
some of
got
the.
one.
Yeah, right. I think there's 144 or something like
Ooh,
that.
geez.
I think it's 12 of each character, so 12 times 12, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 12 Nabbit themed ones, 12, Yoshi, 12 Toad, whatever. Yeah, which is really cool. So of course I want to collect all of those. And then there's the badges. Have you had any experience with those yet?
No.
Okay, well there's a few. There's quite a few. I think I've got like
Oh,
5
wait, no, we do
now.
have a badge. Yes, yes, sorry. I thought you
Mhm.
said badger, like there's going to be an
Oh, no.
animal. Okay.
No. That wouldn't surprise me though. There's so many random animals in this game.
It sounds right. It sounds like I'm gonna run into one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we have, I think, 2 badges,
Cool. Yeah, the
maybe
badges
just 1.
are fun. I like the challenges. You do the badge challenge to
Mhm.
unlock a badge. And then I think some are just gifted to you by those little poplins, the little toad-like creatures that hang about at shops and that sounds weird. They're at the end of every level. They have those little houses at the flagpole that sort of
Yeah.
yeah. Did you notice this is a very minor thing, but did you notice they kind of where like I was Daisy. So when Daisy finishes the level, if she's the first one to finish or finishes on top of the flagpole, then she kind of waves and says, what does she say, like bye or something to the little poplin? It's really cute.
No,
It's just
I didn't see that. I didn't see what Luigi does.
yeah, it's I feel like there's just and I said this previously when I tried it at PAX. There's a lot of life in this game, or I think I wrote this on the article online. So it feels very alive, like the characters' facial expressions, the way they go into pipes and out of pipes. They kind of just Mario grabs his hat or whatever. Their little face pops when they become become an elephant. It's just these little details that I think just give it a bit more character and make it feel I don't know. I feel like it's more engaging and you become a bit more part of it. That's just my opinion, though. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think so, and I think, it's also partly the way the world sort of works with you at times, so you
Mm.
don't feel like you're just running on this flat surface and then occasionally having to jump. It's like every now and again the world helps you by like the pipes that sort of like worm their way
Yeah.
up higher so you can jump to grab things and stuff. It feels like a much
Mm.
more part of the environment instead of just kind of tearing through the environment.
Yes, definitely.
And the pipes, you
Yeah.
can have you when we were the elephant, we found out at one point that I was apparently strong enough to push the pipes.
Oh, I haven't tried that, but you're right. I think they did that in a trailer or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
used that to smash one of the bad guys and some. In fact, the first once I realized I was pushing a pipe, oh, here we go. I'm smashing this guy.
yeah.
And a second later, he was gone. I took care of him.
Oh, that gives a new meaning to Smash Brothers, doesn't it, then?
I guess it does.
Wow. Can you move any pipes, or is it just random
No,
ones that are
at least I don't
okay.
think so. Because I remember, was I trying it later? I don't even know how I realized I could. I don't know if I just sort of bumped into it and moved, or if I hit a button at the same time. I'm not sure, but I did
Hmm.
it.
I'll have to go back and try that now because I'm sure there's bound to be secrets to unlock, by moving pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There seems to be just a lot going on, like, there's little flowers, there's the talking ones, obviously, but there's other flowers that you seem to touch or
Or
spray with
water.
water or
Yeah.
yeah, and they give you coins or they give you platforms. I think there's a few vines that pop up every now and then. So it seems like there's just a lot to uncover and to experience and that's gonna help with replayability as well because
Yeah.
I think there are 3 of those giant purple coin things in each level that you need to collect from what I've seen. So it's like every level has 3 of those, the big like, they look like gems or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's fun. I always have enjoyed that aspect of Mario, since I think Super Mario World when they introduced the star dinosaur coins, I think they were called back then, and you had to collect, I think, was it 3 or 5? I can't remember now, but there was a bunch in the level. And just going back and finding them because sometimes they're quite tricky. So yeah, I do love that aspect. So I'm having a really, really good time with it. And you're writing the review for this one for Pure Nintendo, right? Is that
I
correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So look forward to hearing your final thoughts when they're ready. What else can we say about Mario Wonder? Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
I can say that the Tyranny and I, you were talking about it being too easy, and we were
Mm.
pushing along quite successfully for a while too. But then we hit one of the kind of the bonus things. It was like a racing stage where I had to race, or the both of us had to race that centipede. Does he have a name?
Oh, yeah, yeah, the Wiggler. Yes, I remember
Yeah,
that level. Mhm,
yeah. We had to
mhm.
get
He's
to the
got
end
roller
before
skates.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that kicked our butts.
Ah.
You have to jump. I've never liked the need to hit Y to run and then B to jump at the same time. I always felt that was too
Ah.
awkward.
Right, okay.
But you do need to keep moving, and there are a bunch of obstacles in the way. And if you
Mm,
end up hitting one, it's very hard to get around it, and you can die while you're doing it
mm,
too. So that
mhm.
that threw us. That was the one challenge we had, I think, so far, where we had to maybe I think 4 times we had to do that, and even then, Tierney didn't make it, but I was able to reach the end.
She wasn't
Um,
upside down, that's why. She nee
that's right. We had to flip her the TV in order to make that work.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I remember doing that one. We did that. We had 4 players for that one, and I think I was the only one who beat Wiggler, so, yeah.
yeah,
It was close, though. I was very close, and I did keep falling back behind Wiggler, and I think there are blocks you have to jump over, so sometimes if you don't time the
yeah.
jump right, obviously you get stuck, and then you're like, "Oh, no, Wiggler's overtaking me." That was good fun, actually. That was good. So speaking of the Y button, I am the sort of player who like holds down the Y button for most of the level. Like that's
Oh,
just
so
yeah,
you're used to it. All right. You're a
very
speed
much
runner.
so. Kind of, yeah. I like I'll stop and go back when I see something interesting, but generally I'm just always running and jumping. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like to just yeah, it does sound like a speed run, doesn't it? I don't just run through the whole level though. I just run when I am running, I hold down the Y button, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
do not.
Yeah. Well, give it a go. No, I mean, for that level, you definitely have to.
Yes, I did. I
Yeah.
did for that one. And I will say that even though I talked about how hard it is, when I
Mm.
finally did win, there was a point where I thought I didn't stand a chance because I got stuck behind something and was gone for 10
Mm.
seconds before I was finally able to move it. But I caught him
Yep.
and got past. So
Nice.
it's not the kind of thing where you need to quit in frustration and start over. You could still pull it off, but it just took us longer than
Yeah.
we thought it
Yeah,
should have.
exactly. Mhm. Yeah, and I actually really enjoy those little levels. They're sort of it breaks up the game quite well. You've got your normal levels, which they're not super long, but they're just normal Mario levels. And then you've got these little races or badge challenges, or there's even some that are just a room that are more about collecting coins.
Yeah.
It's nice because it does I think some of them are even called break time. I think that's more like the room with the coins, but it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's
Yeah, we
like a
get to
little
take a
break.
break and
Yeah.
just grab some stuff.
Mhm. So they've done a really good job, I think, with just making it very diverse and interesting and keeping your attention, I suppose, hooked because you're not just you're always wondering what's next,
Yeah.
wondering again. Yeah, so I think they've done a great job. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm going to keep. Oh, well, obviously, I'm going to keep going with it because I'm a fan. But I just want to see what's next. And I've done one boss fight so far, so we'll see what else is in store because Bowser is a giant castle now, and you have to collect. I think they're called royal seeds or something. And each time you do a boss fight, you get a royal seed. Gets rid of his little mechanical plant things that are surrounding his castle now. So and then you can, I suppose, go and attack Bowser. So I'm sure someone out there has already finished the game. So um, not me, but I don't want to rush it either. So I'll enjoy it for the next little bit. But I don't think it'll take too long to get through. But then we can go back and collect all the purple coins. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's a certainly seems to be a ton of replay value. And
Mm,
like right now, Tyranny and I played it. There'll be times when she's not available and I have to do things by myself. But I think that even
mhm,
as I push along for review purposes, going back to play it with multiple members of my family, replaying it with, when Sam comes in, he's the hardcore player, so he's going to be the one making fun
mhm.
of us and speeding ahead while we're trying to collect things. But being able to then
Yeah.
share it with other people who are playing it for the first time, games like this have a lot of replay value just on that alone. So
Mm,
I think
mhm.
even if it is a shorter game, what would you say, 10 to 15 hours to complete?
That's what I saw online. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that would be optimistic for me anyway. Double that for me, but
Yeah.
even beyond that, I think being able to play it with others will double that yet again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, there's lots to look forward to. We'll sort of touch base again next week, I guess, and see how we're going with that
Yep,
one. And should we move on to some other games that you're playing? I'm interested in this one, which is Astro Smash. I feel like you've mentioned this to me before. Is this
I
another
have.
is this in television?
Yeah, boy,
Or yeah,
this is considered the Intellivision game, I think, for a
right.
lot of players.
Yes.
This is the one where it was one of the 5 best-selling Intellivision games. I learned it sold over 1,000,000 copies, I believe, but a lot
Wow.
of it is because they had a campaign where they gave it away for free. You could buy an Intellivision
Mm.
and send it in and get it in the mail, and that certainly helped. It's also the game that was got a bit of a pop culture promotion recently. I mentioned in my review because Sheldon wore it on The Big Bang Theory,
Oh,
had a
that's
T-shirt
right. Yes,
of the
yes.
game, and I saw that a character on the Flash TV show had the or had the T-shirt. We'll call
Oh,
it a TV
cool.
shirt. Had the TV shirt of this game. So this one kind of got all the press, and this was one of the games. It was one of the 5, or was it 6, that was supposed to be built in to the Intellivision Amico system that was in development.
Mm, mhm,
So anybody who was buying that was going to get this for free, basically.
mhm,
Since that system apparently is not coming out, as we've discussed, the BBG Entertainment, who also did Shark, which we've talked
mhm.
about, and Dynablaster, this was the last of the 3 games and Television Amico games that they released.
Alright, so you've completed the set now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe I have. And Astro Smash is the best.
Mm,
Um, First of all, I didn't find any confirmation on this, but it seems to be the game's playing at 60 frames per second,
mhm.
which I'm
Cool.
just not used to on the Switch. So the animation just looks fantastic. The design is really great. There are only 10 levels. You can get through it quickly. But the 10 levels are pretty diverse, and I like that they kind of impact the gameplay. Like there's one where you're playing in front of a volcano and you will see the volcano erupt, and seconds later just a ton of flaming boulders are coming down, and you're shooting up at them. I should say, for those who don't know what the game is, it's kind of like a Space Invaders style game
Mm.
where
That's what it
you're
looks
on a
like,
track
yeah.
on the bottom of the screen and you're shooting up at things that are falling at you. For the most part, they're meteors. Some bombs come, you get some UFOs. So there's a little variety in what's happening. But gameplay is super simple. You literally are just sliding back and forth with the L stick, and you're firing up with Y or the triggers. You could set an auto fire to help, and um, bonuses fall. You can get a shield. You can get more powerful weapons that last for a little bit of time,
Mm.
and that's it. Uh, and
That's all
I
and that's all it needs to be, isn't it? It just needs a
Yeah,
simple
and
gimmick like
that's
that.
one of the things. I read another review of this, and they were complaining about how, like, you can't save your game. You
Ah,
can't
okay.
pause.
Mhm.
I mean, you could
Mhm.
pause the Switch the way you always would. You just hit the home
Yeah.
button.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not like you're playing where you stop and you want to save it and come back to it later. No, if you start again, you're starting from the beginning. Um,
Yes.
and
That's
I like that because that, to me, it really felt like I was playing a game on the old Intellivision, because you
mhm.
didn't have save games on anything. Now, the trivia note is that the Intellivision was the first console that had a pause as you were playing it. If you hit 1 and 9 on the keypad, the
Mhm.
screen would go blank, and the game would basically pause, and you could leave and go do something else and come back and play it later.
That
Um,
was the first pause, really?
that
Wow.
to the best of my knowledge, that is the first time you were ever able to pause a game, which
Wow.
was great because we played a lot and dinner would roll around. Or, as I mentioned, Spectre Man would come on TV. I dropped that reference in my review, and if you'd want to watch it, come back and pick it up.
Mhm.
Um, but because of that, it just, it's meant, there are only 10 levels. And when you're done, it says, hey, congratulations. And you kind of start again. So there's no reward. It isn't like a modern game where you're getting badges and achievements and you
Mm.
can save things. They're very much treating this like it's an old Intellivision game or an old arcade game where you play until you die and then you start over, and that's it. I have a feeling that's going to put off a lot of players who aren't used to that, and that's fine. But
Mhm.
boy, once I saw what I was getting into here and how well it played, and the animations, the music was great. I really just ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, having just gone through Shark, which was fine, and
Mhm.
Dynablast. which was a little disappointing. But I loved Astro Smash more than the original game.
Nice. It certainly looks, like the graphics have been revamped quite significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
and it's
quite
it's
nice.
approachable too. It's not hard. Like a lot of these kind of games where they're kind of like shmups. Although that's not this doesn't compare to that. It's not nearly as difficult. But a lot of these side-scrolling shooter games they get really difficult. This one it wants you to play it and have some fun a little bit longer before it's kind of kicking you out. So it's a
Mm,
little more inviting. Again, that's going to put off some players who are going to find it too easy. But
right.
if you get into its vibe, then I think it's a good game. Maybe not worth $15. Maybe it should be 10.
Mm,
But, if you feel that way, just watch for a sale. One's bound to happen.
yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
But yeah,
$10, that'd be $1 a level then, so that would be good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it has multiplayer. It has
Mm.
online multiplayer, cross-platform.
Oh, that's
Um, I
cool.
I could not find anybody to play with. Now the game hasn't been out
Oh.
long. I
Yeah.
don't imagine there's a lot behind it, but it does have local multiplayer too, so you could sit down with family members and enjoy
Yeah,
it for.
true. Oh, 4 players too, that's actually pretty good.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And yeah, it's only been out like 10 days or something, like, not even 2
yeah,
weeks.
not long, not long.
Mm. And what was I gonna ask you about that? So when you finish it and it restarts, you does it acknowledge like, is there any way that you can see that you finished it? No.
Well, you start over with a new screen. I mean,
Mhm.
you're back at the first background,
Mhm.
so you could see that. Not a lot.
Is
There's no celebration or anything.
right. Is there like a leaderboard or something? Do you get points? Because it looks like there's points
It
in the
does have
level.
points. I didn't see that it's saving any kind of leaderboard information where you could compare it to other people online.
Mm.
You can keep your points going, and again, that's like the old in television. You write down on a piece of paper. You have a chalkboard next to the TV set where you can record your high scores, which my family did on some games. I'm not going to lie.
Right, there you
Um,
go. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, the original Astro Smash. In fact, we got the. I don't- It's the original game, the burn up to difficulty was so slow that after you had it for 2 or 3 days, you would have to play it for 30 to 40 minutes before it became challenging at all. And that's why I
Right.
say I like this one better is because it wasn't as boring as quickly.
Mm.
But there also was like then there was a little point where it was challenging, and then it got to the point where you would be awarded new ships so quickly you could not lose anymore. You were getting new
Right.
ships faster than it was possible to die. So you could have gone on Astro Smash just forever if you didn't get bored and shut it off eventually.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's why I bring this up. This one, as far as I know, doesn't quite do that. It gets pretty hard after a
Mm.
while. So, but maybe someone will be able to. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool, okay. Because yeah, it's I mean, it's not what is it, 1981 was originally
Yes.
available, so it's,
Yeah.
what is that, 42 years or so?
42, 40,
So
yeah, I think, yeah, 42.
yeah.
And it was right around this time too. It was late in '81. So,
Right, there you go. Wow, that's cool. Yes, well, so is your review online for that one?
yes. Yeah,
Yes,
it
okay.
just it just went live today,
Hmm,
or today
nice.
as we're recording. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's out
cool.
there. And
Excellent.
now it has me sad that the Amigo is probably not going to happen because there were a lot of other old in television games that they had announced that they were revamping, like a Night Stalker. And there was a
Mm,
Dungeons and Dragons game that I don't think they were allowed to use the name again. Maybe they did.
maybe they can call it
Like
Dragons and Dungeons.
Cloudy Mountain, I believe is what they're calling it
Oh,
now.
okay.
But those looked really good, and I was looking forward to playing them. I don't think
Mhm.
they were BBG, maybe not. But now I'm hoping that more of those games start sliding out to other platforms, so maybe they'll be as enjoyable to me as Astro Smash was.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. That would be very good. I mean, yeah, we can live in hope. So, yes. Surely someone out there is still working on these interesting kind of retro inspired, titles. So,
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
I imagine the developers who were making them for the Amico put a lot of time into them, so they
Mm,
got to get their money back somehow and release them for other systems. So
yeah, and
we'll see who's allowed to do what.
the Switch seems like a logical place to do
I
so.
think
So,
so. I
yeah.
applaud that decision.
Yes, brilliant. Well, so if we go from one game that was great to maybe one that wasn't so great, am I right
Well,
in suggesting that the next game is not, as you weren't as enamored by this one as you were by Astro Smash?
yeah, it's actually 2 games that I got here, both of which I mentioned before
Ah,
that I'm learning, Japanese slowly,
yes. Mhm, mhm.
and I had a game before, I can't even remember what it was called, I need to fire it up again because that taught you how to read the kanji characters.
Mhm,
There are 2 games that I got press releases for this week and requested codes and got them both. One is called Easy Japanesey. Um,
mhm.
that one is about as bare bones and kind of pointless well, I'm not even gonna call it a game. It doesn't pretend to be a game.
Right,
It literally just puts like a word written in Japanese on the screen, and then you have to guess what the word is.
right, okay. Without any
Um,
context or
no,
okay.
No, I mean, it starts easier. It doesn't really do anything to even teach you so much. It's just like you either know it or you don't.
Mm. Okay.
Um, so I don't quite understand the point of it. Other than if you are trying to learn these, it's like good practice maybe. Um, but it doesn't really do anything to sort of move you along or reward you or give you incentives or anything. Now, I should point out it's only $3,
Yeah, it's a
so
cheap one, yeah.
yeah, it's better than note cards, I guess. But at least with note cards,
Mm,
you're able to control what you're learning.
right.
Here, it's just a bunch of things that they put out. So
But it looks like it gives you, like, 9 choices as well. How are you supposed to guess? You
well,
can't
yeah, see,
even
that's it. Like, it gives you the word, and I think I reversed that. It gives you the word in English, and then you have to guess, how that's written in Japanese. So, it really is just character recognition more than
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah, but without giving you the way a way to learn the characters.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's,
Right,
like, it starts
interesting.
off easy, and I suppose you could memorize it, but the previous game that
Mm,
I'd taken a look at was better than that. But moving on from that, the other game that I'm looking at, Terra Alia, I'm not sure what
mhm.
that is. Um, it's not just Japanese. It's 9 or 10 different languages. It's an RPG that uses the story and the puzzles to teach you another language.
Cool.
It has French, it has German, it has Japanese. I believe it has Korean, um, and a few others. I selected Japanese, and it kind of tells a story. You're a character. You could create your character. You're in this sort of like a Harry Potter kind of world. You're at a school for wizards. You have a wand. In fact, they taught me the word for wand in Japanese, and I can't remember it because I only went through no notes, and
Mm.
it's hard for me. But you kind of move around, and all of the objects, it'll teach you the what for whatever language you select, it'll teach you what that word is in that language. So
Right.
as you're exploring and you come across, say, a book, then it'll say Han in Japanese. So okay, now you
Mm,
know the word. If it was just doing that, it wouldn't be that big a deal. But it goes a bit further because in Japanese, it's also teaching you the kanji characters. You
mhm,
have the ability to turn on or off the romanji, which is basically the Japanese word written out with English letters. Um, I
mhm.
leave that on because it helps me hear it and be able to pronounce it better.
Yes.
But then as you move along, you start meeting people, and you get little quizzes from them. Basically, they will say something to you in Japanese, and then the game teaches you, here's what they said. This is how you respond. This is how the sentence structure is handled.
Right.
So it starts to teach you a little bit more, and you're picking things up as you go along. Like, yeah, my wife was in the room when we were playing it, and suddenly she was able to start picking up on the repetition of some of these words, and she was saying it.
Cool.
We learned how to say table in Japanese, for example. She memorized it. Have of course since forgotten. Uh,
Yeah. Well, if you're not repeating it to yourself constantly, then
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
it. That's the thing with these games is it's the repetition that, you can play it and you can learn it and you think you got it, and then half an hour away from the game you've forgotten. So
Mm,
there's no real immersion. Um, you do have the ability to go back and like pull up basically a dictionary of all the terms you've learned, and you could go through it that way. Um, but it just gives you a little bit more to do because there's a world to explore. There's a bit of a story. And, although they say this is an RPG, it's not challenging Xenoblade
Mm.
Chronicles or anything along those lines. It's very basic.
Right.
Um, but it at least gives you something to do. And it does a better job of teaching you a little bit more. It doesn't go into, like, let's say in Japanese, if you have two consonants next to each other, then you kind of like put a separation between the two of them. Like, let's say gakko is Japanese for school. If you look at it, it sounds like you could say gakko and get away with it, but you can't.
Mm.
It's gakko. They're
Right. It's a good tip.
one of yeah, one of the words that they teach you in Japanese is paper, which is kami. Um, and that's fine, except that they don't point out that if you say kami with the stress on the other words, now the word means God.
Ah.
So it's the exact same, it's the same character, or in Romanji, the same spelling, but the way you pronounce it completely changes the meaning of the word. So unless you're hearing it in context, you don't know exactly what it is. They don't teach you things like
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
But you're not picking up this game to learn Japanese. I think it's a good as a new way, since we talked about how you need to get the repetition and the immersion.
Mhm.
When I'm not using the software that I'm using to learn Japanese, or watching a movie that way, or an anime or something where I have the Japanese on, this continues the immersion a little bit. Since I don't have people to talk to, I can at least play this game, hear things, and that gives me some of it. In that case, I think it's good as a tool, if it's not the only tool you're using.
Mm. Yes. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like there's actually quite a lot of these language-based titles out there for the Switch. I mean,
Yeah.
which
I,
is
I I
really
think there
cool.
are, especially like in these RPG style games. I think, because I did
Mm.
mention to Sam that I was going to be reviewing this, and he shouted out a couple other titles to me that he knew of,
Right.
that weren't this. So I think it's becoming more common, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Especially something like this where let's say you get all the way through Japanese and you've learned the little bit that it's going to teach you. Now, why not go do it with French?
Mm. Mhm.
You
Yeah.
you just replay the game in a different language.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. You would have, I guess, potentially a lot of replay value there. Is the story gonna be the same for each language, just with different.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
they would be able to do that much, but
Mm.
and
Well,
it's
the
got your typical RPG things, like you're leveling up, you're getting new equipment to making yourself more
mm.
powerful. The battle mechanic is kind of fun. It's a turn-based thing where you have to cast a spell, for example, but if it takes too long to cast the spell, then the person you're fighting is able to disrupt it. So you need to get the timing down and figure out what your buffs and everything are going to be. So it's good. I mean, anyone who's playing an RPG will be able to get into it, for a bit. And like I
Mm.
said, I don't think it takes that long to play. I believe I saw in the review maybe 10 to 15 hours,
Mhm.
um, to get through it.
Like
So
Mario.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna compare Terra Alia to Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah. And what is Terra Alia anyway? Is that the name of the school or
I
something,
think
or
so. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Cool.
Let's see. Look, Terra Alia. No, oh, it's a nation. It's a world, I guess.
Okay. Yep.
And you as a student are going to one of the more prestigious magic academies of Terra Alia. Um, and
Right.
learning about the school and what's going wrong. Like, I believe actually something's already gone wrong, and your professor, who's kind of like a ghostly figure who pops in and out from time to time,
Yeah.
is sort of giving you the background as you go along. But
Hmm.
you quickly leave the main room and go out into this kind of open courtyard to do a lot of things. And none of the students seem like they're that worried about anything. They're just doing student style activities, and so you can pick up little like subquests and such. But
Okay.
I'll learn more as I go along, I'm sure.
Oh, it sounds interesting
Yeah,
to get
and
that
I do need a
balance.
notebook. I'll have to take notes on the words I'm using,
Yeah.
so I can read
Well,
them and practice them.
that's alright. You've always got the notebook handy, so that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, to get that balance right between, a fun story and gameplay, uh, as well as the language side of things, obviously that's kinda tricky to get right, so
yeah,
if they can do it, pull it off, yeah.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
so far the balance is fine, and I had fun with it. I
Mm.
there was I didn't know how to save. That's one thing that threw me. There is some of the in-game tutorials don't explain a lot, and I had to go online to find out if I quit, what am I going to lose? And but
Right.
apparently the developer replied on Steam and just said the game automatically saves every time you leave a screen, so you're fine. All right, well,
That would be
good.
useful to know
You
in
could have
game,
let me
wouldn't
know.
it? Yeah.
You could have given me
Yeah.
like the little rotating save icon that every game in the world gives you,
Yeah.
so you know that
Something.
something's going on.
Some kind of cue, visual cue that's that way progress is being backed up somehow.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you if they did have something like Xenoblade Chronicles, because 'cause you're a big Xenoblade Chronicles fan, if they incorporated language into something like that, would that be ideal or too much? Would that work for you, do you
With a
think?
game, well, I do always play them in Japanese.
Ah, yeah, cool.
Like, but that doesn't really, I mean, every now and again, I'll hear a phrase, I'm like, "Oh, I know what that means."
Yeah.
And then I'll say, "But that's not what the translation said." So now I don't even know
Mm.
that I can trust it. I think that just
Yeah.
gets me accustomed to hearing Japanese, so
Uh-huh,
I'm more equipped to understand, like, the subtleties of the language.
uh-huh.
Even though I
That's
can't
good.
hear what I say, yeah, it helps me to pronounce things once I get them.
How are you
Um,
following the story if you can only understand bits and
oh,
pieces, you know?
subtitles, subtitles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought with subtitles, in movies at least, I thought they were more accurate. Because you sometimes have a movie that's dubbed in English, and if you have that on, and then you put the Japanese oh, sorry, no. If you have the dubbed version and then you change it to Japanese, like the original language version, and then put the English subtitles on, it's very different to what the dubbed, spoken English is because they try to make it match the mouths more, whereas if you get the subtitles, it's more accurate in terms of the translation.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
in theory that should be the way it is. I know a lot of times the people who are doing the subtitled translations are changing things to make it more Western. Um,
Right,
either
okay.
either more approachable or to use a completely different phrase. Like there may be a saying in Japanese that doesn't really have an English equivalent, so they
Yeah.
will replace it with an English equivalent so that people
Oh,
understand.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get that, but like even going back to, and here we go once again into the Godzilla.
Yeah.
I have owned Godzilla movies in so many different formats that have been
Mhm.
translated by so many different companies because different companies get the rights to it and then they release their own translation. And
Mhm.
sometimes they're just completely different. They'll just completely whack out
Right.
um, what was actually said. And but the language itself is always the same, and the subtitles are completely different depending on who's doing the translation. So
Oh, interesting. There's no standard for anything, is there? It's
I guess they make it hard.
yeah, they
Make it
do,
hard
they
on
do.
guys like me. We just want to learn to speak Japanese.
Yeah, just let us learn, please. Cool, well, thank you. I look forward to hearing, whether Terra Alia is worth your time in at some point when you finish your review, so that's good. I'm
Hopefully in a
glad
week or two.
yeah, like a pair of language titles at once to review, that's I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was strange that those releases
Yeah,
came in almost back to back.
yeah. I mean, I do like the name Easy Japanesey. If I was gonna pick a game to learn Japanese, that would stand out, especially because it's $3, but based on your early impressions, it sounds like Terra Alia might be more fun, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'll have to play a little more of Easy Japanese and see if I can come up with a better use for it than just sitting in front of my Switch and staring at kanji characters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are getting so close to Halloween now. We're only, a week or so away, and we've been talking about horror games all month of October. And what is this week's Halloween title of the week that you have for us?
Speaking of our Japanese theme that we apparently have going on now,
Yes.
this game is a remake of an old Wii game that never came to the U.S. They upgraded it and released it for the Switch, and it is Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse.
Mhm.
It is part of the Fatal Frame series. We had made Fatal Frame Maiden of the Black Water came out for I think both Wii U and the Switch. And this is a series of games where basically you have something called the camera obscura, and you have to photograph ghosts. Is That's the basic gist of it. But
Mhm.
the game has very much a Japanese horror feel to it. It's very oppressive. It's very lonely. Um, the only weapon you have against these ghosts is the camera. Although there is a character who has kind of like a flashlight that does the same thing. So
Right.
we'll say there's a one guy has a flashlight. But the premise of the story is that there was this island festival where I believe it was five girls on this Japanese island participated in a festival and mysteriously disappeared. Were found a few days later and had completely lost their memories of what had happened. Um, Now they're teenagers, and two of them have died. Two of them killed themselves. Two
Right.
others went back to where this took place and they've disappeared. And so now you, as the fifth girl who participated in this festival and had this incident happen, you're going back there to discover what's happened, where your living friends are, and trying to figure out the truth
Wow.
of what's gone on. You play as that character and you play as the police officer who found the girls. He's gone back to see what's going on. I should also say that everybody on this island, soon after the girls um, were found, they all died. So the
Right.
whole island was dead. They caught some kind of the story was that it was they picked up some kind of disease that wiped them all out. We of course know
Right.
that's not the case. Um,
To cover up.
yeah. But so you're exploring a haunted sanatorium, this like haunted mansion. It's like all these places. Like if you think of, I'm going to my friends with my friends to a haunted house. What's the
Mm.
best one? Let's go to the haunted sanatorium because, of course it's going to be scarier than say the haunted schoolhouse. Although
Yeah.
haunted schoolhouses can be pretty creepy too. So it's got an excellent horror setting, and you're walking around alone, and every now and again you'll see ghosts appearing like off somewhere. And if you're quick with the camera, you can take a photo of them, and that allows
Mm.
you to level up the camera so it's more powerful for when you have to battle the ghosts. And when you are fighting the ghost, it's not just you taking their picture. You need to get like a really good shot. Otherwise, it just takes forever. So you need to let them get
Mm.
close. Right before they get close, they can duck away or have an attack you can do. So you need to make it as scary as possible
Yeah.
in order to get through
Yes.
it.
That's
Um,
quite clever actually, making
yeah,
yeah, yeah. In
yeah.
terms
The
of
one,
dialing up
the
the horror a bit.
yes, yeah, they do, and the lighting effects, the hallways, they have a ton of jump scares, of course,
Mhm.
but it just does an excellent job of making you feel completely isolated and creeped out, even when you're not having windows banging or something suddenly appearing in front of you.
Mm.
The drawback to the game, well, there are two. One less significant is that Maiden of Black Water was better. It was the game
Right.
that was released after this, and although it was out for the Switch first, it's the latter game in the series, and there were some control issues and things that they had figured out by then. So that one was just a creepier and better experience overall. The other thing is this: using the camera is hard. It's got a lot of awkward control movements. There are times
Mm.
when you're going to be yelling at the controller or the character because it suddenly spins you around when you didn't want to. The
Mm.
ghost will disappear behind a wall, and all you can do is just kind of spin around in circles and hope you get them at the right time. So you end up getting
Right.
attacked a lot when it's really not fair that you were able to do that. So at times it is a very frustrating game. But
Mm.
when it's clicking and you're playing it by yourself at night, which again I recommend you do,
Yeah.
um, then it's a lot of fun.
Mm. Is Maiden of the Blackwater, is that the 5th game or the 3rd game? Does that come before or after this one?
It comes after it. There's usually they're not really are they connected? Sometimes some characters will carry over across
Mhm.
them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
So
gonna
you
ask that
don't
as well. Mm.
yeah, you don't need really to play them in any kind of order, and not all
Mhm.
of them still have been released in the U.S. I
Right.
believe the name of the series in Japan is Project Zero, not Fatal Frame.
Ah,
Um,
yes. That sounds very familiar.
yeah, in
Mm.
fact, they've even made a movie. There was a Project Zero movie that was released in Japan about this series. So it's
Mm.
it's got some clout over there.
Was it
Um,
animated, the movie? Was it an
no,
anime or no?
no,
Live
live
action?
action. Yeah,
Okay. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I did read like the camera obscura plays a very tiny part in it. It really is just
Ah,
another Japanese horror movie that
yep.
kind of has the same vibe, but it
Mm.
doesn't have the main gameplay mechanic. And I guess that makes sense. You
Mhm.
don't want a movie where someone's walking around photographing ghosts, the whole time. It's scary when you're holding the camera, but
Yeah.
probably not when you're watching someone else do it.
I'd
So,
wanna see that, but that's okay.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I should watch it.
I remember I think I'm sure I do remember this coming out on the Wii U because you could use the gamepad as your camera, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
or
And
I don't know if it was this one or the other one, sorry, which one
yeah, it
was
was
yeah,
that was
the
what do they
Maiden.
call the other one? Black Maiden.
Yeah,
Wait,
Maiden of the Blackwater.
yeah, Blackwater.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I remember seeing trailers and such for that, and
Yeah,
I don't know if you had a chance to play it at all, but, the
I
gamepad,
did.
did it work better? You're saying the
Yeah, I think
controls are a little
so.
frustrating in this one, so
Yeah. I didn't play the full game. I only played the demo, for
Mhm,
that, and then when it came out for the Switch, I got the full game and played it all the way through. But
mhm.
yeah, it's better if, you're moving the camera, you can sit in your chair and kinda spin around, and I'm doing that now, so if my voice keeps popping in and out, that's why. Um, but there were times where, I mean, you were standing up and actually having to spin in complete circles and stuff. So, as much as
Mm.
we all love the motion of the Wii and the Wii U, there were times where, I just want to sit down and play a game. I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to get any physical exercise out of this. Um,
Yes.
so I do, but it was more accurate. It was better, and you could, do it that way. So that I liked, and you do lose that by playing it on the Switch. So maybe
Mm.
if you have a Wii U still around and you want to try one of these games, try it there. They
Yeah.
also had special costumes on the Wii U where you could dress up the characters as, I think it was Princess Peach,
Oh, really?
yeah, Zelda maybe, and Samus.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
all of which were dropped on the Switch version. Costumes are
Oh,
one of the big things in this game. You can download
yeah.
a lot of extra costumes to put the men and the women in different outfits.
Cool. Yeah, some of
Some of
the I
which,
mean, yeah, the screenshots, it does look like they're wearing quite interesting outfits in some shots, so
yeah, there
yeah.
are, for this one, there are, of course, swimsuits you can put them in, which is just weird. I mean, I get it, but it throws me out of the game because no teenage or young adult woman is going to explore an abandoned, creepy, dark, haunted sanatorium in a bathing suit.
Probably
It's
not, no.
they're not even going to do it in a dress, which they
Mm,
have. But there also
yeah,
was like one DLC though, where it was like this kind of like goth outfit that was totally appropriate because, of course,
yeah.
the goth girl's going to do this. She's been looking forward to this her whole life.
Yeah. She's like, "Bring it on." Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed also it's on sale at the moment, actually. So if
Oh,
listeners are
perfect.
interested, yeah, it's actually 30% off on the eShop. So and that goes until the 1st of November. So yeah, definitely a good Halloween title to pick up if you're looking for something
Yep.
interesting and horror themed. I think
Yep.
it's
Oh,
rated T for teen, so there's a decent amount of blood and gore by the looks of it. Is that
yeah. It's was
accurate?
there? I don't think there was. Well, they do say blood and gore, but boy, maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe in some of the movies that they show, they have like these little clips.
Mhm.
Again, all presented very much like a Japanese horror movie. Maybe in some of that, but in the gameplay, I mean, the ghosts are coming at you when they're attacking, but they're not attacking with weapons, and there's no knives or anything like that. So I don't think the gameplay has any in it. That may just be in the
Yeah,
cutscenes.
okay. Yeah, I mean, ghosts don't tend to, they don't really attack you with knives and things, right? So you're not,
No,
like, bleeding out.
yeah,
It's just,
they're
yeah.
swallowing your soul.
Yes, yes, nice. Thank you. Well, that's definitely a good one. So yeah, like I said, it's on sale, 30% off at the moment, so check it out on the eShop if you are interested. We're about at the hour mark now, so that was good timing. But before we close out the show, we wanted to have kind of a special announcement because every week we talk about our magazine that we put together, our bi-monthly magazine, and the current issue is very close to being finished, so that's going to come out to our patrons very soon. And we wanted to say that we currently have 99 patrons on our Patreon site. So that means we're hitting a milestone of 100 very soon. And we wanted to just say thank you, first of all, to everyone who has already subscribed, and we hope you enjoy the magazines. Secondly, the 100th person, we're going to do something special for that person. So if you happen to be listening and you're on the fence about getting our magazine, it's a physical magazine that we send out. Obviously, sorry, not obviously, but at the moment it's just for US and Canadian subscribers. But yes, if you're in the US and or Canada and you would like to get a physical magazine, this month's issue is, or this edition is Mario Wonder themed. So there's a lot of content and imagery about that. We also talk about packs and all sorts of things in there. So did you want to say anything else about that, our 100th person? Or did I cover it?
Yeah, I think I will say that what we're considering giving out is going to be an actual physical prize
Yes.
to go
Thank you.
along with the physical magazine. It seems
Mhm.
to make sense. So,
Yeah.
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 So we won't announce what that is yet. I'll need to clear that we're allowed to do it, but it is
Yes.
Nintendo Switch related. It is game related, and it's not a game. Uh, and I think that's it. It's Switch physical, not a game. There we go.
Yes, something cool though. Yes, so thank
Something
you.
cool.
Yeah, so thank you again, everyone, for participating. So if you wanted to check it out, it's patreon.com/pure Nintendo. We're very excited to have 100 uh, people following us and reading our magazines every other month. So can't wait to get the next issue into your hands. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening today. Thank you, Kirk, for joining me today.
Hmm.
And if you like what you hear, please leave us a review. We're on Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music, and we're on YouTube as well. So pick your poison there and let us know what you think of the show. Until next week, thank you and game on, everybody. Bye.
Sayonara.